me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command out. Of course, I'm your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all. Outside is a mess right now. It is thundering. It is lightning. The clouds have opened up. The sky has opened up, and it is dropping buckets of water right now. So all bets are off. I don't know if the power is going to go out or not. It's been flickering a little bit. Usually the power stays strong around these parts. However, all bets are off when it is as nasty as it is outside. That's part of the reason I was so late. My son was like, yo, what is going on outside? I'm scared. I can't blame the young fella. I heard one of the loudest thunders like maybe 5 minutes ago that I've ever heard in my life. Sound like something just exploded somewhere. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know that all bets are off on this live stream. But the reason I'm live again today, normally I would just do this video locally, upload it, gone about my day, let you watch this whenever you choose. And again, that option is still available if you're out there. You don't have to watch this thing live. It's always there for playback, as I always tell people. But this is something that I get excited about every single year for no reason other than I just like overanalyzing the first depth chart of the year. Now, let me say this. Hear me now, hear me loud, hear me clear. Okay. This is as big of a nothing burger as you will find in the offseason. But I get excited about it, okay? Let me be excited about the shit I want to be excited about. Just indulge me for a second, okay? The very first depth chart of the year is something that I always look forward to because it gives me an idea of where guys stand. Now, the coaching staff will be quick to tell you we didn't have anything to do with this depth chart. This was put together by the WashingtonCommanders.com staff. Bullshit, okay? Bullshit. They may not have been sitting down with them each and every single position and telling them, no, don't put that guy there, put this guy here. But they corresponded with them, okay? They didn't do this independently without any say-so from the staff. They got some input from the staff. So there is a bit of direction that you can take from this, and that's why I enjoy this exercise in futility. So again, indulge me as we go through the unofficial depth chart, the very first depth chart of the year. As we head into the first preseason game, we'll do that tonight. That is a big deal for me. That's why we're live. Also, they threw in a caveat. They said, hey, we'll just throw you a little bone too. Hey, here's the home jersey schedule, okay? Now that we have black jerseys too, we're going to just throw this out here. So now you know when we're going to be wearing what, and you can decide if you want to come to this game because we'll be wearing this color, or you want to wear this color to this game, you're a season ticket holder, this, that, and the third. Awesome. So we'll go over that as well tonight. And then, of course, day 13 of camp is in the books. Not a padded practice, so take it with a grain of salt, but we will go through what transpired on day number 13 of training camp for the Washington Commanders and what was said after practice as well. So let's get to the main event. Let's get straight to the dessert, okay? I'm so excited. I'm getting tongue-tied. Let's get to the dessert first. We'll eat the vegetables last, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about tonight is the unofficial depth chart that came out yesterday. So let's turn our attention to that right now. And there aren't many surprises. We've talked about the roster, and we've talked about most of the roster spots being spoken for. And really, it's the back end of the roster at specific positions that we already knew about going into camp that were going to be the battles, right? So I think there are one or two things that I'm like, interesting. Other than that, I think everything is pretty much intact and where it's supposed to be, but we'll go through it anyway. So let's start with the offensive side of the football. I think this is where they're going to keep their most players last year. So I'm glad that someone brought to the table on yesterday's stream the comment about the depth chart and how many, or excuse me, the roster and how it would shape overall from a number standpoint and the breakdown of it. And it forced me to go look at the, roster from last year. And it unearthed a couple of gems for me. I for some reason I misremembered some things. Okay, I remembered it the way I wanted to remember it, and not the way it actually happened. So it gives me better perspective as to what they're thinking when they, start making up the roster and start having that roster building and roster construction. It gives me a better, idea of, oh, this is what they did last year. It's a similar roster this year, so they may go in that same direction. For instance, I kept thinking that they only kept 6 receivers. They kept 7 receivers last year. That changes everything. I've been going off of the premise that, hey, there's one receiver spot available, and there are 2 or 3 guys fighting for one spot. Actually, there are 2 spots available, and there are 3 guys fighting for 2 spots. So I think I know what they're going to do with receiver now. But again, these are the things that I needed a refresher on, that I was a little off on. Now I have clarity. So let's go through the depth chart for the offense first. And so what you see here is all of the positions. And interesting enough, 3 receiver positions, obviously 1 running back. In the old days, it was 2 receivers, 2 backs, 1 was a fullback, and, tight end, 1 tight end, and the offensive line. That's changed now. Okay. So 1 back, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and then the 5 offensive linemen, and of course the quarterback position. So let's start with the quarterback position. Carson Wentz is number 1, Taylor Heineke 2, Sam Howell 3. No surprises there. We knew that. Running back, same thing here. No surprises. Antonio Gibson's your starter. J.D. McKissic's your second string. Brian Robinson, your rookie, is 3rd string. Here's where it gets interesting. A lot of people love Jaret Patterson. I've told you already, they really love Jonathan Williams, and they keep talking about Jonathan Williams. And so you see Jonathan Williams, and Ron has brought him up multiple times this offseason and into training camp, and you're hearing less about Jaret Patterson and more about Jonathan Williams. I'm just saying, I don't think either one of those guys is making the football team regardless, but it's just worth noting that Jonathan Williams shows up first on the depth chart before Jaret Patterson. But just a little food for thought. You do the dishes there. You move on to wide receiver. This is one of the interesting positions. Obviously, your 3 starters, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson. So Terry's your X, Jahan Dotson is your Z, and Curtis Samuel is your slot receiver as of right now. So that's the breakdown there. However, okay, after those 3, the interesting thing that you want to really dig into, because those were knowns, okay? Those were the knowns. Now the unknowns, who's second string behind all of those guys? Because if you're thinking of it logically, you're thinking, well, if they're keeping 6 receivers, which I think they're keeping 7, now that I looked at the roster from last year, but if they're keeping 6, then naturally, who's right behind the first string of each of those receiver positions? And there's your 6, right? So after Terry, you have De'Ami Brown. Well, that's a no-brainer. De'Ami Brown's going to make the football team. Okay. After Curtis Samuel, you have Dax Milne. Put a pin in that. After Jahan Dotson, you have Cam Sims. He's going to make the football team. So right there, you have 6 receivers. I think all 6 of those guys are going to make the team. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You've got 1 more spot. I think they're going to keep 7. I think Dax Milne is going to grab one of those spots. And I think the other spot is up for grabs between 2 receivers, Alex Erickson and Marken Michel. Now, as you see, Marken Michel is the 3rd string behind Terry McLaurin at the X position, and Alex Erickson is behind Curtis Samuel in the slot. Kelvin Harmon is 3rd string behind Cam Sims as the Z. I don't think Harmon is going to make the football team. I've said that numerous times. But again, it's worth noting that Erickson is behind Dax Milne, and Marken is right there on the same line, 3rd string, as Alex Erickson. Those 2 guys, in my honest, humble opinion, are fighting for 1 spot. So we will see if the difference, and I've said this all along, I think the difference ultimately is special teams. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So today at practice, I'll just bring it up now since it's relevant. Today at practice, there were only 2 guys returning punts. And, throughout practice, I've talked about Kyrick McGowan, the rookie undrafted out of Georgia Tech. He's been one of the other guys, along with Jahan Dotson, sparingly, have been fielding punts. But today at practice, there were only 2 guys fielding punts. Those 2 guys were Alex Erickson and Dax Milne. So what that essentially tells me is that one of those two guys is going to be your punt returner. And when we get to special teams, it may give you a little bit of insight as to what they're thinking, but I wouldn't be so hasty as to make a decision there, because think about it this way. If they feel really confident that Dax Milne can handle the punt and kickoff return duties and, be that jack of all trades, backup receiver that can play all three positions at the receiver spot, then they could essentially trim off fat with Alex Erickson and keep Markin Michelle if he has a strong enough preseason. And that's ultimately what it's going to come down to, because Dax Milne can handle the punt return duties and he can also do kickoffs if need be. But Alex Erickson right now, to me, is in the driver's seat to handle both of those duties. And that's going to be what boxes out Markin Michelle if he doesn't have a strong enough camp. If they think they can sneak him onto the practice squad, then they'll just keep Alex Erickson. Ron's always been forthright with that information. Like, look, it's all about who can we sneak onto the practice squad. If we don't think we can sneak this guy, if Markin Michelle has a strong enough camp that somebody else is eyeballing our stuff, Alex Erickson is a journeyman wide receiver that really at this point of his career is only good for returning punts and kickoffs. He's pretty much like Andre Roberts, a much younger version of Andre Roberts. The only thing he's really good for at this point of his career is returning punts and kicks. Yeah, you can throw him at receiver, but at the end of the day, if you lose Alex Erickson, you're not crying over spilt milk. He's an older receiver. You know what he is in this league, so you're willing to lose him if you cut him. Whereas Markin Michelle is a guy that was here last year on the practice squad. They really like this kid. He's been making some noise in camp. He's young. He's a guy that could replace, say, a Cam Sims or even a De'Ami Brown. If he continues to be somewhat disappointing, he could be the better guy there. And so they may say, you know what, we're spinning our wheels in place with De'Ami, but Markin Michelle looks like he's ready to play right now. And so we can insert this kid and get some value out of him. And they may not want to lose him. And they may have put too much film out there during the preseason to where other teams are eyeballing him and says, you know what, if they cut him, let's go get this kid and sign him and put him on our 53-man roster. So there's some interesting decisions to be made, but preseason is going to help determine that. Anyway, I digress. So the receiver position looks like that. You get to the tight end position. I don't think there's any interesting dynamics here. Logan Thomas is your starter. Second string is John Bates. Cole Turner is third string. Fourth string is Sammy Reyes. There was some talk about maybe Curtis Hodges sneaking into that fourth spot. I think Sammy Reyes is still right there. Now, again, the preseason is going to tell a lot. We need to see a huge jump from Sammy Reyes in the preseason. Last year, he was just getting his feet wet. Remember, he was injured in a couple of those preseason games, and so we didn't get to see him as much as we would have liked to. He's got to, A, stay healthy, and B, he's got to show that he belongs, because they kept 4 tight ends last year. They're going to do it this year because obviously Logan Thomas is coming back from injury. Even if he was healthy, they might have kept 4, but they're definitely keeping 4. So I think Sammy Reyes, it's his job to win, but he could lose it to a guy like Curtis Hodges, who is 5th. And then you have that conglomerate at the back of Alex Arma, Amani Rogers, and Eli Wolf, who they just signed probably about 3 or 4 days ago. So then you get to the offensive line. And the starters, that's kind of self-explanatory. Charles Leno Jr. at left tackle, Andrew Norwell at left guard, Chase Roullier at center, Trey Turner at right guard, Sam Cosmi at right tackle. We already knew that. The backups, Cornelius Lucas, we already knew he's our swing tackle and a damn good one. Chris Paul, that's interesting that he is at left guard as the backup, but again, not really that dynamic, because when you look at the guys behind him, you're like, okay, none of those guys register anyway. And then this guy is a draft pick. So again, that makes sense. Tyler Larson still recovering from surgery last offseason, so he's still on the PUP list, but when he comes back, he'll be the backup center. Wes Schweitzer is our swing guard. He's our swing interior offensive lineman. He can play all 3 interior offensive line positions, so we know what he's about. And then Sadiq Charles, coincidentally enough, I expected Sadiq Charles to be the backup left guard and have another guy here at left tackle, whether it be Rashad Hill. I thought it would have been Rashad Hill at right tackle, but they've got Sadiq Charles still hanging in there as a left tackle. He's more of a guard at this point of his career. Are we mistaken for thinking that way, or am I mistaken for thinking that way? I don't know. Maybe I am. Anyway, they've got him. I think right there, I think they keep 9 of these guys. They kept 9 last year. I don't see them having to be forced to keep Chris Paul, right? Like they drafted him. I don't think anybody's snatching him up. He's not going anywhere. I think you could slide him onto the practice squad and just keep the 9 guys that we kept essentially last year, Sanford, Brandon, Sheriff, obviously the 2 new Panthers who are here this year in Norwell and Turner. But I mean, the starting 5 and then Lucas, Larson, Schweitzer, and Charles, I think that's your group that you go into the season with as your backups, and that's your 9 offensive linemen. As of right now, obviously, everything is subject to change. So I don't really see anybody threatening in the 3rd string or the 4th string of the offensive line. We pretty much know what the offensive line looks like. We trust the depth of this group. And if we needed to go any further, I think they really like Chris Paul. And we know that Keith Ishmael gave them something last year in an immediate emergency situation. So that's the offense right now. Again, no major surprises. Interesting to see Jonathan Williams 4th in ahead of Jarrett Patterson. But again, that's not really that big of a deal to me. And then, you know, the Sadiq Charles at right tackle. Okay. But we know he's really a guard. He might be listed as a tackle, but he's really a guard at this point of his career. So let's get to the defense. And so there are a couple of interesting dynamics here. Nothing really, you know, game-changing here, but there is something interesting that struck me as I looked at this. So we will go through this quickly. And something to note, because Washington is pretty much in their nickel package for the most part, that they don't play like they're technically a 4-3 defense, but as you can see, they don't have 3 linebackers listed. Instead, they have 5 defensive backs. So they're telling you we're going to be in nickel 80% of the time. So there's no need to even talk about that 3rd linebacker, even though technically speaking, we're a 4-3. We much rather have you talk about that cornerback or that extra safety, that extra defensive back, the Buffalo nickel as our 3rd linebacker instead of talking about a guy that we don't think is going to be on the field very often anyway. So that's interesting to note, but I digress. Defensive end. No surprises here. Montez Sweat at one side, Chase Young on the other. The backups, James Smith-Williams, Casey Toohill. We already knew those 4 guys were entrenched on this roster as defensive ends. Where it gets interesting are the backups. I just assumed F.A. Obata was a defensive end. They have him listed as a defensive tackle. Interesting stuff, because if I am to go off of this list right now as it is constructed, F.A. Obata is not making this football team. Now, again, everything is subject to change, and we'll see what happens, but F.A. Obata is a defensive end. In my mind, he's a big guy now. It's right around 270, 275. He's a big dude, but he's still a defensive end. James Smith-Williams is a big guy. He's 270. He's 275. That's an interesting one. Maybe F.A. Obata put on some more weight. Maybe they look at him as a Swiss Army knife, can play inside and outside. That's why they love Daniel Wise, because he can play inside and outside. I don't know. Again, noteworthy. That's just a mental note that I'm taking. Something to stash away in the back of my memory bank, but we keep pushing. Shaka Toney, William Bradley King are your 2 third-string defensive ends. Last year, only one of those guys made the team. That guy was Shaka Toney. So they kept 9 defensive linemen last year, 4 defensive tackles, 5 edge rushers. It was the 4 guys that are in the position to make the team this year, and then Shaka Toney as a rookie. Shaka Toney. So I'm intrigued by the fact that F.A. Obata, who I thought we signed as defensive end depth, is listed at defensive tackle. Speaking of defensive tackle, let's go there right now. So, you know, the Alabama wall exists, and they added an extra layer to the Alabama wall, or the Bama wall, and Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Those are your 2 starters. We talked about the defensive tackle position, and that we know of 3 who's the 4th guy. So the 2nd string right now is Fedarian Mathis. That was a known commodity. But David Bada, I've talked about David Bada when we had the discussion about the defensive tackle position, specifically the 4th defensive tackle and who would round out that group. I said, don't sleep on David Bada. This is a guy that's been in the IPP, the International Pathway Program, that they've been working with for the last couple of years. They really like this kid. They think he's got some upside. He's very strong. and they think he's starting to really learn the game and understand what they're looking for from him. I actually thought he flashed in the preseason last year. He's going to get an opportunity. Right now, they look at him as a guy that has the inside track. Now, again, they really like Daniel Wise. I still think Daniel Wise has a legitimate shot to beat out David Bada, but we will see what happens. F.A. Obata is the surprise for me. Did not see him as a defensive tackle. Thought he would be listed as an end, and I thought he would be listed, either as the second. Well, he was going to be third string because he wasn't going to be in front of James Smith-Williams or Casey Toohill. But I thought he would be the fifth defensive end instead of Shaka Toney, or they would keep 6 defensive ends this year, especially with Chase Young's situation. They would probably keep 6 because Young would make it 6. And when he comes back, they would then probably drop one of those guys off of that defensive line room, making it 5, where they were last year, and 9 overall on the defensive line. But again, food for thought. You do the dishes. It's not a big deal. F.A. Obata, whether he's a tackle or an end, if they want him on the roster, he'll be on the roster. But I think the interesting thing here with the defensive line, 4th defensive tackle, David Bada right now is listed as your 4th defensive tackle. Daniel Wise is the guy that I think has the inside track on the position, but David Bada may be a lot further along than we think. All right, so we move to the linebacker position. And obviously, Jamin Davis, Cole Holcomb are your 2 linebackers. Jamin Davis is your outside backer. Cole Holcomb is going to be your Mike. So behind them, Khaleke Hudson is the backup to Jamin Davis at the linebacker position, on the outside linebacker position. And David Mayo, we already knew this, a big glob of David Mayo is behind Cole Holcomb. They really love him in short yardage situations. They love him down around the line of scrimmage. They love him getting guys lined up as a veteran. They don't like his ability to run, which is why they brought in Nathan Gary as another guy that can run out there and give them more depth at the linebacker position. You look at the rest of this group, Dejon Harris, Milo Eifler. This is the guy that famously last year during the Sunday night game versus the Cowboys didn't have any audio or picture when they were going through the starting lineup. And then Trey Walker, he made himself known to the fan base by retiring and then unretiring the very next day. And then Nathan Gary, as we talked about, he just was signed about 3 days ago when they signed safety, tight end, and Nathan Gary as well. So no surprises there. You see the 4 linebackers. The interesting thing was last year they only kept 4 linebackers, right? We were like all appalled at the fact that they only kept 4 linebackers. They may keep 4 again this year. I mean, looking at this group, do you see anybody that you have to keep after the first 4 guys? I mean, hell, some of you are like, we don't even need to keep the first 4 guys. We don't want David Mayo, but beggars can't be choosers at this point. Anyway, so the linebacker position, again, really not much there that we didn't already know. Here's another interesting position that we've talked about already, cornerback. So right now, they've got in their starting lineup with their depth chart 3 corners. So they're telling you we're a nickel-based team. All right, our base front is a nickel formation with 3 corners, or the Buffalo nickel. You can pick and choose and call it whatever the hell you want to call it. But right now, you've got William Jackson III as CB1. You've got Kendall Fuller as CB2. And then you've got Benjamin St. Juste as your nickel. Or you could flip it and say Kendall Fuller is your CB1. William Jackson III is your CB2. It's William Jackson III, CB1. Kendall Fuller's CB2. Benjamin St. Juste as your nickel corner, right? Or your Buffalo nickel. So that's the group right there, right? Backing those guys up right now, Corn Elder backing up Kendall Fuller, Christian Holmes, the rookie 7th round pick out of Oak State, backing up William Jackson III, and Danny Johnson backing up Benjamin St. Juste. This is an interesting position because we're all assuming Troy Apke, Trap, is going to make the team. Does he have to make the team? Like, if there's another fiend on the roster, and right now, the only guy that I could think of is Defoe, Derek Forrest, being the type of fiend that Troy Apke is on special teams. But Apke's been hurt all camp. But they don't need to see Troy Apke. They have no intentions of putting him on the field in a cornerback or safety capacity. His one role on the team is to be the best damn special teams player on the team and have it not even be close. And they know he's fully capable of that. They don't need to see him doing that every day at practice. So I don't think he's hurting himself by not being healthy. As long as he can get back before the end of, preseason, and they can see him, lay eyes on him, know that he's healthy, know that he can be the best version of Trap that he can be, he's going to make the football team. Okay? Because as I've stated multiple times, do not sleep on the importance of special teams. A lot of people want to just sweep Trap under the rug. He stinks. He doesn't need to be here. He's taking up a roster spot. But the reason we don't have issues on special teams is because of fiends like Trap. And you have to have, I've said this before, you have to have 2.5 fiends on your special teams unit in order to not have breakdowns. Trap is a whole fiend by himself, maybe even worth a fiend and a half. Okay? Cam Sims is another fiend on special teams. You need these guys in order to make sure your special teams doesn't fall by the wayside. So that bears mentioning. Anyway, it's interesting to see Christian Holmes, Corn Elder, Danny Johnson as the backups. Obviously, Danny Johnson is making this football team. We've talked about this already. There are 4 corners that are absolutely locks for me. 3 absolute stone cold lead pipe locks. We talked about this. I add Danny Johnson into my group. You don't have to if you don't want to, but Danny Johnson is making this football team. So it becomes a question of, do you keep 5 or 6 corners? Last year, they kept 5 corner. They kept 6 technically, but they really kept 5 because Trap was the 6th corner. So technically speaking, they kept 5, but they actually kept 6. So what I'm telling you is, if they do the same thing they did last year, Trap is added as a corner, they're going to keep 5 of these guys, not 6. So the 4 guys already: Fuller, Jackson III, Juice, Danny Johnson, Corn Elder, and Christian Holmes are fighting for 1 spot because Trap is going to take the other spot. That's what it looks like right now. But we'll see. Clearly, time will decide what happens. Maybe Trap isn't right. Maybe they decide, you know what? We're not keeping Trap this year. We feel like Derek Forrest, Cam Sims, and a few other guys can make up the fiends that we need on special teams, and we no longer have to dedicate a roster spot to Troy Apke. That's a realistic possibility too. I don't think it happens. We'll see. Safety. So obviously, Cam Curl, Bobby McCain are your 2 starting safeties. As you get into 3 safety looks, and that's something that we like to do quite often, you'll run into either Derek Forrest or Percy Butler being on the field. Those are your first 2 backups. So they kept 5 safeties last year. Landon Collins, Cam Curl, Bobby McCain, Derek Forrest, and DeShazer Everett. Those were the 5 guys they kept last year. So if history repeats itself, which I assume it will, they'll keep 5 safeties again. If that is the case, you're staring at the first 4 guys in Cam Curl, Bobby McCain, Derek Forrest, and Percy Butler. And that 5th guy is definitely going to be Jeremy Reeves. Excuse me. So for me right now, the safety position, I've told you, I'm confident in the safety position. I really don't have any qualms about the safety position. And frankly, I think it's one of our stronger positions. Again, we're assuming Percy Butler is legit, and I think Derek Forrest is going to be just fine, even if he's a backup. I like the starters. I like Jeremy Reeves a lot, and I think Percy Butler is going to come in and fill in quite nicely. So I think that's going to be a strong group for us, but we'll see. So no big surprises there in the secondary. Everything seems to be on par there. And then we finish up looking at special teams, and nothing really interesting here. The only reason we are even talking about this is because of the punt and kickoff return situation. So let's go straight there. We know Tressway is the punter. We know that Joey Sly is the place kicker. He's a Sly guy. Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo. And we know Tressway is the holder, and Cam Cheeseman is the long snapper. So we don't need to talk about that. Punt and kick return is what we're interested in. And the interesting thing here is that Ron specifically, okay? And when Ron speaks and he says something, you should listen. I know I do, okay? And I told you there hasn't been many times that he's lied to us. He's a straightforward guy. Ron said the guy that's going to make the team as our punt returner needs to have duality, meaning he needs to be able to do both punts and kickoffs. There's only one name on this list that is doing both and starting at the same time. Okay. Kyrick McGowan is not making this football team. I can assure you of this. So, what this is essentially saying, as of right now, it's saying the exact same thing that the unofficial depth chart said to us last year. Because I remember telling everyone, hey, DeAndre Carter's having a strong camp. I still don't think he's making the team, but we don't have a punt returner, and he's actually making plays at receiver. Look out for DeAndre Carter, but I still don't think he's making a roster. And then I saw the unofficial depth chart, and DeAndre Carter was both the kick and the punt returner. And I'm like, interesting. I said, maybe DeAndre Carter is making this football team. And then we got to the preseason, and they had everybody and their mama returning punts. But it was DeAndre Carter who got the first crack. Alex Erickson, as of right now, is your kick and punt returner. If that is in fact the case, we get to the first preseason game and Washington wins the toss and elects to receive, and we receive the kickoff, and Alex Erickson is back there fielding that kick. And then the defense gets on the field, they force a 3-and-out, and Alex Erickson is fielding that first punt. We may have gotten our answer in the very first preseason game, no matter what happens after that. Because last year, in that very first preseason game, DeAndre Carter fielded the first kickoff, DeAndre Carter fielded the first punt, and then we got a whole bunch of guys getting field work as kickoff and punt returners. But ultimately, the decision had already been made. It was DeAndre Carter. I'm just saying, keep in mind, it's not 6 receivers, it's 7. If we're going off of the template that was laid out for us last year, it's not 6, it's 7. And if it's 7, that means Dax Milne can make the team and Alex Erickson can make the team. Again, Markin Michelle can throw a monkey wrench in that game plan. However, right now, I think Alex Erickson is the new DeAndre Carter. So that is the depth chart. Unofficial, keep that in mind. I can't stress this enough. Unofficial depth chart and all of its splendor. Hopefully you were able to keep up with that. I got excited. I'm pretty sure you could tell I got a little bit excited there. But now let's go through the jerseys real quick. Knock that out, and then we'll get into practice today. Get to any comments you may have, and we'll get out of here. I don't want to hold you longer than I need to tonight. So Washington now has 3 uniforms, okay? They have an alternate jersey that is black. Obviously, the jerseys that we normally wear at home are going to be white, and then they'll throw in the burgundies whenever they feel like it. So let's go through when these things will happen. Now, interesting enough, there are more home games this year than in any year previous in the regular season, because this is the first time Washington has had the extra home game since they moved it to 17 games to a 17-game schedule. Remember, last year was the first year of 17 games in the regular season, and Washington and all the NFC teams were playing the extra road games. So we only had 8 home games, and we had 9 road games last season. This year, it's flipped. Washington and all the rest of the NFC teams have 9 home games and 8 road games, and so they're able to split it up where there's 4 burgundies, 3 white jerseys. Let's not count the preseason, okay? 3 in the regular season, they're going to wear the whites, and they're going to wear the black jerseys twice, okay? So, again, that is a grand total of actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yes, 9. Okay, my math was starting to trip on me. So, it's 9 games. Now, here's the dynamic. So, I want to know, when they say burgundy jerseys, are they going to play with the combinations? That's always been my question. I told you guys I went to this this little meet and greet thing they did surrounding the rebrand. And Jason Wright, and I told you guys about this. And he said that they were going to mix and match colors. I don't think they're doing that with the black, but I think I think it's a safe assumption to say that they're going to mix burgundy and white, but is it going to be all burgundy? Is it going to be all white? Is it going to be burgundy and white? Is it going to be white tops, burgundy bottoms, white tops? How are they going to play around with these combinations, or is it just going to be one solid color? Because all we've ever seen on these mannequins and when they model the jerseys is just one solid color. So that's one of the things I'm wondering. And I think the black jerseys ultimately are going to be the new white jerseys for us. Because remember when we would go white on white, we would get so excited if it was a big game. I kind of don't like the pre-planned nature of when we'll wear the jerseys, because it always felt organic. Like, yo, this is a big game, white on whites, Ron, make it happen. And then we get to pregame, we see them warming up, and we see the white on whites, and we get excited like, yeah, it's a big one. They got the whites on tonight. We already know what they're wearing. So you can't even get excited like, yo, I need the blacks tonight. This is a big one. We going to war, put the war paint on, put the black jerseys on. We can't even do that. We already know what it is. I don't really like that. I'm just going to be honest with you. But I think the two games that they chose for the black jerseys, before we get into all of the games, like you couldn't have chosen two worse games, honestly. Like these are two nothing burger games, other than week 9 being Kirk's first foray back to FedEx. Whoop did he do? I really don't give a shit, to be honest with you, because I wanted him here. This game only really matters to those who hate Kirk Cousins and want to see him fail. Then this means a little bit more to you. You want to stomp a mud hole in the Vikings, and you want to make sure you take it to Kirk and make him look bad. I don't really give a shit that Kirk's coming back here. I don't. There's no animosity for me. The Vikings and the Falcons, you couldn't have picked two worse games if you tried. Like, what are we doing? Like, don't waste the black jerseys on two non-divisional opponents. One of those black jersey games should have been against one of these teams within the division. I get it. We don't have a night home game, which would have been the best time to roll these puppies out. It would have been great. Week 15, Monday Night Football versus the Giants. That's when you throw out the black on blacks. We don't have one of those, and we don't deserve one. After the debacle that was Sunday Night Football versus the Cowboys last year, we don't deserve any home games or any national TV games at home, even though that was a road game. We don't deserve it. All right, we wet the bed in the biggest spot of the season on national television, and so we don't deserve a home playoff game or a home divisional game, which we usually get. Usually it's either Philadelphia or Dallas or the Giants. It's usually the Giants when they they throw us a bone here. We'll give you a game on primetime. It's usually the Giants, which was last year Thursday Night Football. But anyway, I thought the black jersey games were trash. But burgundy jerseys, we'll be wearing them in week 5 versus the Titans, week 7 versus Green Bay, week 15 versus the Giants, and week 17 versus the Cleveland Browns. So again, is it all burgundy? Is it burgundy tops? It's obviously burgundy tops. The question is it burgundy tops and bottoms, or is it burgundy tops with white bottoms? I don't know. You know what would be interesting? Will they ever allow them to wear the black pants? I doubt it. You probably only can wear the black pants with the black jerseys, which I don't know if that would even be a nice combination or not. So each game has a theme. I don't care about the theme, to be honest with you. White jerseys, preseason game. So the very first time we see this team as the Washington Commanders, they will be in their white tops. Will it be white tops and white bottoms, or will it be white tops, burgundy bottoms? I think it's going to be white tops, burgundy bottoms, to be honest, but we'll see. But that's a preseason game. Week 1, the very first game, regular season-wise, when we see this team as the Washington Commanders, they'll be wearing the white jerseys as well. Again, is it white on white or is it white on burgundy? Week 3 versus the Eagles, and then week 18 versus Dallas. The theme is rivalry weekend in week 18 versus the Cowboys. Maybe that game means something. Maybe it does not. So again, that's the jersey breakdown. I'm not the fondest of this because, again, I like the spontaneity. I like to be able to say, you know what, this is a big game. We should put on the fill-in-the-blank jerseys for this game. And obviously, you can only wear the black jerseys twice. So I would like for them to set aside an opportunity to say, hey, these are big games. We haven't worn the blacks all year. We can pop it out here. Or say, hey, we're going to wear it one time and then we're going to leave one open just in case we need it. We got it in our back pocket. By you predetermining the dates it takes all of the suspense out of what we're wearing. Now we know what we're wearing that day. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to practice today. And day 13 of training camp. So this was supposed to be a padded practice. It ultimately was decided that they didn't want to go with pads today. Yesterday was a pretty rough day in terms of weather. It was hot. Today was hot too, but yesterday it was hot and it was a physical practice. And so they thought they'd lighten it up a little bit. Obviously, you have a game on Saturday, so you don't want to run these guys into the ground. So they decided no pads today. Guys that did ultimately practice today, Curtis Samuel was back out on the practice field, went through individuals and things of that nature. Good to see. William Jackson III was back out on the practice field. Again, there was no pads, so I always am a little leery of that. Guys that were out, Cole Turner did not practice today, still nursing the hammy. Trey Turner, Ron had something to say about him. Glad someone finally asked about him because I'm like, God damn, we haven't seen Trey Turner since like the second or third day of training camp. So I'm glad someone finally asked about him. We'll talk about him, but he was out with the quad. J.D. McKissick has been out now for like the last 3 or 4 practices. They made it seem like it's something physical related, like it's non-injury related. It's not something physical, but maybe something going on like, personal. I don't really know. And the reporters have stayed away. Like maybe Ron or one of the PR guys have gotten to the media and say, hey, don't ask about JD. It's a family issue. It's something personal. He'll be back in a week or whatever. So no JD McKissick, whatever the case may be. Benjamin St. Juste was a new entry into the side field action. It seems like these corners are tagging each other in and out. It's William Jackson III. It's Ben St. Juste. We just need these guys healthy when the start of the season comes. Trap, he's been injured for a while now too, so it's starting to become an issue with him. Like, hey, what's going on with Trap? And then John Bates, they decided to kind of pull the reins back on him. He had been back. Remember, he was nursing a calf injury, and I think they just felt like they needed to dial him back a bit. So he was on the side field today. So the offense, I thought, continued to build on some of the momentum that they built yesterday. The offense might have had their sharpest day of work yesterday, day 12 of camp. And I thought that today was another day in the right direction as they continue to take steps towards building that continuity and foundation that we're looking for offensively. They're starting to get into a rhythm. Wentz was sharp down in the red zone, had a touchdown pass to Terry, had a touchdown pass to De'Ami Brown. In the 7-on-7 period, he was, remember, 6 of 6 yesterday, no incompletions, and capped it off with a touchdown pass. He was 3 of 6 today, but 2 of the 3 incompletions were drops. There was a drop by Antonio Gibson. There was a drop by Curtis Samuel. And then there was a breakup by Danny Johnson on the other pass. And that one was slightly behind the receiver, but still, it was a good play by Danny Johnson nonetheless. So Wentz getting into a much better rhythm. One of those 3 completions was a 35-yard strike to Terry McLaurin. So they're starting to get into a rhythm. The touchdown to Terry was a slant in the red zone, something that I don't think we do enough of. I watch Green Bay every year, and Aaron Rodgers gets to the 6-yard line, gets the football, takes 1 step, and fires a rocket on a slant and scores a touchdown. I'm like, we never do that. When's the last time we scored a touchdown on a slant? I'm thinking Jordan Reed, 2015. You like that? Come back against the Buccaneers. Like, we never throw slants in the red zone. Like, what is up with that? I almost want to go Seinfeld. What is up with that? Like, what are we doing? So it's good to hear that they're rifling in slants in the red zone for touchdowns. So they're building that rapport slowly but surely. They're getting into a rhythm, which is what we like to hear. There was an interception. And honestly, after that big interception day where they had 5, like 2 weeks ago, it seems like now, but it's more like a week and a half. They haven't really, since the pads have gone on, and that was like the last practice prior to the pads going on. Since the pads have gone on, you haven't heard much of the secondary picking off passes. You know why? Because now they have to worry about the damn run game. Okay. So shit switches up when now there's not just, we're open set, open formation, spread you out. We're throwing the football. Defense can pin their ears back. And now the secondary can just play pass. Now you got to actually play the run. So they haven't been as active getting their hands on the football, making plays as we heard earlier in the camp, which is why we always talk about defense being ahead of offense. However, Bobby McCain, he dropped an interception. We saw that before last year, i.e. the Denver game, but he also caught an interception. It was a beautiful one. I think a lot of you have seen that. They put that clip out on social media of the diving stab that he had. There was double coverage. I'm assuming Terry was, Carson was giving Terry an opportunity down the field, and it was in the double coverage, and Bobby McCain was over the top like he was supposed to be, and he made a play on the football. And then there were a couple of other opportunities for interceptions. I talked about McCain dropping one, and then that was against Carson Wentz. The other was against Taylor Heineke, and that was a drop by new linebacker Nathan Gary. He had an opportunity to pick a pass up, and it went through his wickets. But other than that, the offense was outstanding again today. So they're starting to build upon some of the success that they've been having. You can see them starting to turn that corner slightly. And that's good. That's what you want to hear. So solid day for the offense. And I think that tomorrow might be the last padded practice. Then they won't practice on Friday. Obviously, you have a game on Saturday. If anything, it'll be a walkthrough on Friday. So you may get a padded practice tomorrow. You may not. They may ease off of them and not have any more padded practices, knowing that there's a game coming on Saturday. But in any event, 3 people stepped up to the podium. Obviously, Ron Rivera, he steps up there after every practice, and then usually get 2 players. That was the case today. Started with Ron, it then went to Jahan, and it wrapped up with James Smith-Williams. So Ron, obviously there were a number of defensive line questions. Warren Sapp was out there again with Jeff Zanina, the new defensive line coach. So obviously there were more defensive line coach questions lobbed at Ron. He took the first 3 in stride, and then he got one late from Tom Lavero and about, were you thinking about making this change after the season or, any other changes? And he was like, no, and I'm not getting into that. So he said he felt like he needed, so he went into greater detail. He talked about it briefly yesterday when the change was first made and he announced it. And he briefly went into it again in greater detail today. Talked about why he felt like the change was necessary. I don't know if you guys saw the clip, but I retweeted it on my timeline on Twitter. So if you're following me, you have access to it. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there was a reporter out there. He spoke to Sam Mills III, who was actually at practice yesterday. There's this misconception out there. He missed the Saturday practice, obviously, for the Hall of Fame inductory speech that, his dad was getting enshrined. His mom was going to accept on behalf of his dad. But he was back by Monday. There was no practice Sunday, and he was back on Monday. And obviously he was back on Tuesday. He missed Monday. He was back on Tuesday, which is when he got canned. And this was a interview like right after practice. And Sam Mills is talking about the Hall of Fame weekend, and he's talking about practice, and this guy's going into specific players, and he has no idea that in 30 minutes he's going to be called into Ron Rivera's office and handed a pink slip. He was bombarded. He literally had no inkling of what was about to come. I mean, it is crazy. I liken it to, and I hate even bringing this up, but I liken it to watching the first 48. I told you guys I watched the first 48. I love that show. I liken it to, it's creepy when you watch someone on video and that person has passed away and you see them living out the final maybe 5 to 10 minutes of their life. They don't know that they're about to pass away, but you're watching them go through life like they normally would. They have no idea what's coming around the corner. And that's what I liken him in that interview to. Like, he had no idea that in just 15, 20 minutes, from then he'd be, packing up his stuff. Amazing. Anyway, so he talked about needing a more authoritative voice. someone that was going to be a little bit more demonstrative. He didn't feel like, and I make fun of Sam Mills's voice, Sam Mills the third's voice. It's high pitched. I make it a little bit more high pitched than probably it really is, but it's a high pitched voice. I don't think he is. I don't think he is a pile driver. Remember how they would always talk about Coach Hainer, Pete Hainer, the tight ends coach, and how he was always on those tight ends and he was working them hard and it made them better because of it. I think that's what Ron is looking for from the defensive line coach, and he wasn't getting it from Sam Mills III. And from all accounts, Jeff Zanina is a very hands-on, vocal, aggressive type of coach. Why? Because he's got that former NFL player background. He's been at this for 17 years, whether a player or a coach. And so there's this, I think, thought process in Ron's head. I want a guy that's done it before, because I gave a guy that hadn't done it before an opportunity and it didn't go well. Now I want a guy that's going to kind of give them the same tutelage that I would, that's going to be on them, that's going to light a fire under their ass like I would, because I can't be in the meetings with them all the time. I can't be in the positional drills with them all the time. I have to oversee the entire team. This unit's too talented to not be playing at a much higher level. I need more out of this group. And he told Sam Mills III this prior to the start of camp. I need more out of this group. Maybe that was him firing some shots, pop, pop, pop. And maybe he didn't feel like he was getting what he asked for, and so a change was made. But he also talked about the upcoming preseason game. And I talked about what he already said about, players playing in the preseason game. And he talked about, a guy like Markin Michelle and Dax Milne in particular, and these guys that have an opportunity to put a stranglehold on a roster spot. These preseason games are going to mean a lot for some of these guys, man. And we know that. Every year there are a handful of guys that are on the fence, and some really strong performances in the preseason will push them over the top and earn them a roster spot. And some lousy performances in the preseason will end up having you getting cut and brought back onto the practice squad. It's a fine line. So he talked about that, and he talked about Trey Turner. So let's get to that. That was probably the biggest nugget that came out of Ron's presser today, is the health of Trey Turner. So you're getting Curtis Samuel vibes from Trey Turner right now if you're a Washington fan. We've been there, done that with an ex-Carolina Panther before, where Ron tells us, oh, he's fine. He's been in this system for a long time. We know he knows what to do. We're not worried. He's a veteran. He's got it. As long as he's ready to come back before the start of the season, he's fine. And then they're like, well, would you like him to get some work? Obviously you would. This isn't like receiver where you're an individual. This is a cohesive unit. It's 5 guys that should be working as one. You're damn right you should want him to be out there for at least a preseason game. And he said, yeah, I'd actually like him to get at least one possession in the preseason with these guys, just so they can get that under their belt. But he's like, even if he doesn't, we're fine, because we know who he is as a player. He knows our scheme and our system. We heard all of this shit before. I feel like Sunshine Anderson heard it all before. We heard this shit before. I just want Trey Turner to come back before the end of the preseason. I need to see what this group of 5 looks like. And honestly, if his ass ain't back by preseason game 2, well, I don't really think you're playing your starters in preseason game 3. So are you going to make him go rogue and make him play with guys that he's not going to play with just to get him some reps? Ron was very adamant. He needs to get into game shape. So I don't know. Maybe that is the case. Maybe he'll be out there with Noah Laufenberg in preseason game number 3 and protecting, the right side for Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell in preseason game number 3, just to get his feet wet a little bit. I don't know. But I'd like to see him back in preseason game 2 and get some work in that game when we know the rest of the starters will be playing significant snaps. Ron said, look, he's going to be out at least another 10 days. If we're taking Ron at face value, and we have no reason not to, 10 days means he's not playing in preseason game number 2 either. So even if he was talking about just 10 days, not 10 camp days, just 10 days in general. Well, that's still a week and a half from now. He's not playing in the preseason game next week. So that's not what you want to hear. The guy hasn't played. He hasn't participated in practice since July 28th. That's the second day of camp. I'm not tripping. I told you I like the depth of this group. If he can't go, I feel just as confident in Wes Schweitzer. You guys know how I feel about Wes Schweitzer. I'm not tripping. Neither should you. But they brought Trey Turner in here to start at right guard. I'd like to see Trey Turner on the field and see what he's capable of. But anyway, you can't do anything about injuries. They are what they are. And so we move on. James Smith-Williams really didn't have much to say. Like one of the shorter pressers we've seen this camp, it was like 2 minutes and some change. Half the time he wasn't even speaking into the damn microphone. He was off to the side, listening to the question, and then he just answered it without even speaking into the mic. So you didn't even know what he was saying half of the time. But it's just good to know that he's healthy now. The hip is fine. He's out there practicing. I feel good. Nobody even asked him about the hip, which is, I think, negligent on the part of the media. Like, yeah, he's back, so maybe he's fine. It's just a softball question. Hey, James, how's the hip? Oh, and he's going to tell you, oh, it's fine. I feel great. And that's the standard answer. Maybe that's why they don't even ask, because they know that's what the player's going to say. But still, I'd like to hear him actually verbalize, yo, the hip's fine. Nothing to worry about there. Anyway, he's one of those guys that you may get a little extra out of him, because he is a guy, like I saw him on Good Morning America. Somebody sent me a clip of him on Good Morning America. How can you not like James Smith-Williams? Smart dude, gets it. He might have gave you a little something like, yeah, man, I tweaked something. I was really sore the first 3 days. Probably could have came back to practice a lot sooner, but the staff was like, hey, no need to push it. It's camp. And so I sat out an extra couple of days, and now I feel fine. You might have even gotten that out of him, but they didn't even ask. Anyway, Jahan Dotson stepped up to the mic, and, he is buttoned up. You're not going to get much out of Jahan. You're going to get real answers out of him, but it's going to be like how you would coach him up if you were trying to teach him how to talk to the press. It's going to be politically correct. It's going to be, I just got to worry about me, that type of thing. It was funny because at the end, Pete Haley, who I love Pete because Pete's going to ask you some off-the-wall questions. He asked Jahan about the dangling mouthpiece. He's like, yo, I noticed in camp you got the mouthpiece dangling, but you never put it in your mouth. Is that a thing? Is like, what is up with that? And John's like, yeah, that's a thing that I do. I rarely wear my mouthpiece, which that bothers me. He's got some nice teeth in his mouth. It bothers me. And I get it. That's why you have a helmet, but I just don't trust it. That's why you got a mouthpiece, but his shit just dangles on the mouth, on the helmet. And he's like, that's a style now. Something that, players started doing 3-4 years ago. I picked up on it. I think it's cool. And so Pete was like, well, does it obstruct your view? Does it get in the way? He's like, we notice it. Do you notice it? He's like, nah, honestly, I don't notice it. When I'm playing, I don't even realize it's on my helmet. So why the hell is it there? I get it. It's the same thing. Like, if you've ever played football, you want to be cool. You got one strap pinned up, the other strap down, dangling, because that was the shit. And when I was growing up, something else that was dope was to have your shit strapped up tight all the way to the top, and it had the 2 joints dangling down. So you would never strap the ones here. You would only strap it up here and have it really tight, and you'd have those dangling. That was a thing when I was first coming up. And then it became one, just have one here and then one dangling, and one down. And, now dudes like F that with all these concussions and shit. They got their shit all the way strapped up, which you should. And you should have a mouthpiece in. That shit helps too. But, and John, you can tell he was like, what the hell are you asking me, dude? Like, seriously? Like, the biggest thing that he said is, look, I got to make the quarterback right. No matter where he throws the football, my obligation to the quarterback is to go get the football. And so, this rhythm that you guys want to ask me about with Carson Wentz and all that shit and the timing and the chemistry. Look, he throws it, I catch it. That's essentially what he said. Like, we're starting to get into a better rhythm in the intermediate game. But he's like, at the end of the day, wherever he puts it, it's my job to go get it. that's the type of person and that's the type of mentality he has. So that's what you're going to get out of Jahan Dotson. So that was practice in a nutshell. Did you guys see the Curtis Samuel video? I can't even think of his name. Scott something from channel whatever had an interview with Curtis Samuel. And Curtis Samuel, he did it like it was some kind of commercial, like an infomercial. He's looking this way, and then he turns to the camera dramatically, and he says, "Don't worry about me. I'm fine. I'm gonna be ready. We're working on a plan. We're sticking to the plan. I feel great. I'm gonna play in week 1. I'll be ready." And I'm like, I love the conviction. I love the passion. But I'm like, you actually can't guarantee us that, Curtis. And I wouldn't have done that if I were you. Now, I'm knocking on a lot of wood over here, man. All right, for Curtis. We need it. But someone in your position, you can't guarantee us you're going to be healthy week 1. You actually can't do that. Unless they put you in bubble wrap from here on out, you can't assure us of anything. But I like the confidence. I like the fact that he said it, and I believe him. And I told you guys I wasn't worried about him, and I'm still not. So anyway, I digress. Let's get to any comments that are out there, and then we will get out of here. Thank you for rocking with me. I know it's another random time. You know, today was the first day of school. My son started preschool today. That was an adventure. That was fun. One of the twins, you guys know from a couple of shows ago, wasn't feeling well. So they were home today. And then wife's first day of work was today because she is in the school system, as I told you guys before. So a lot of moving parts. So I know this is a random time, random, day for the live stream. But after I told you weren't going to get one until Friday, now you've had them back-to-back days, really 3 days in a row. You had it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But I appreciate y'all rocking with me anyhow. So let's run through these comments real quick and get out of here. Eddie Clayton, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Eddie. Thank you so much for the support. If I see a comment from you, I'm going to go ahead and knock it out. So Eddie, thank you for the super chat, writes, "Hey, Louie, I'm a longtime fan trying to join the Mob Squad. Love the videos and extra content. Much appreciated. Also glad to rep the 757. You know what it is. 2 up, 2 down. You know what it is." He says, hashtag command post. You know what it is, man. I appreciate you, Eddie. You know what it is. 757 all day, every day. Easy to join the mob. If you're doing it on your mobile device, you have to go to the desktop version. If you don't see it, then it's easier if you just go to the desktop format, because sometimes it doesn't show up on the mobile device. But you'll see the join button right where subscribe to the channel is. The join button should be right next to that. So if it doesn't appear there, then you have to go to the desktop version of YouTube in order to access it. Hope to see you joining here shortly. Michael White, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate, stand up, my guy, Michael. Welcome to the MOBB, Michael White. Welcome aboard, Mob. You know what to do. Show Michael some love. Really do appreciate you, Michael, joining up. Again, perfect timing. Giving away 2 tickets to this preseason game on Saturday at 1 p.m. against the Carolina Panthers. Should be a fun one because, again, you're going to see the starters, I think, for a lot longer than you would normally see them in the first preseason game of the offseason. So, or the preseason, rather. So, perfect time to join, man. Yeah, Mob, you know what to do. Show Michael White some love. Welcome him with open arms. Michael White, welcome to the squad. And again, last video, I told you guys leave the hashtag. So last video, the video that I posted yesterday with Sam Mills III getting fired. That's the video that you need to post the hashtag that I told you in order to be eligible for the tickets. Again, you need to be a member of either the Mob Squad or Patreon to be entered into the drawing. But you have to use the hashtag. Eddie Clayton, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Eddie, writes, what up, Louie? Longtime fan and want to join the mob. So, again, and I think you didn't think I was going to read your comment because the first one didn't go through. But I told you I got you. If you super chat, I know that a lot of times when it's like that, you mean to do it, and sometimes it can be a little confusing, and you do it first before you use do the comment. So, again, the easiest way to do it, if you haven't already done it, is to go to the desktop version. Thank you for the super chat. Mr. Clayton. Trevor Patch. My guy, Trev. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, Lou, if LT doesn't start and these pups are hung up, Ron's going to call T. Hemingway like, hey, baby, what you looking like? Let me put some nice B&G on you. We've been down that road enough times. I don't think they're calling Tamarick Hemingway back. I think the fact that they have Curtis Hodges, and Amani Rogers and these guys working and putting in this work, I think they are comfortable with the young tight ends that they have, that Tamarick Hemingway won't get a phone call. But that was always the de facto, last line of defense backup emergency plan. Hey, call Tamarick and see how fast he can get here. I don't think that's going to happen this year. Logan may not be ready, but we've already talked about if Bates is healthy, if Cole Turner is healthy, Sammy Reyes is here still. You got Curtis Hodges, as I've mentioned. And I don't think Amani Rogers is anywhere near ready, right? I think he's a year at minimum. I think probably more like 2 years away from, being a guy that can contribute in a manner that you need him to, just because he's not only making a positional change, he doesn't even have the size for the position yet. Right now, the only mismatch that he presents is his athleticism, but that's not enough to get you on the field right now, because we have other guys that we feel like can provide us with, that athleticism piece and still be able to do some of the things that we're asking them to do in the blocking game from a size and technique standpoint. So I don't think you're going to hear Tamarick Hemingway's name brought up this year. But in the past, you'd have been spot on for sure. Michael White, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Michael, writes, hey, Lou. He says, it's been a while. It sure has. It sure has. He says, hope all things are well. Likewise with you and yours. Everything is good over here, Michael. Thank you so much for the well wishes. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Luck, writes, hit that like button or develop a yeast infection. Why you got to be all negative and why you got to be all nasty with it, man? Y'all heard the man, the first part at least. Hit the like button. All right. Thank you, Luck, for that public service announcement, at least the first half of it. But again, as my guy Luck just said, please hit that like button. If you haven't already done so, sub up to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And again, run the likes up. Over 300 of you out there, only 100 and some odd likes. Run the likes up. Let's get it to 2 before this thing is all said and done. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what's up, Lou? What's up, Big Money Sonny? It's been a while. Big Money Sonny. He says, could super chat a D's nuts joke, but I don't think you're falling for that banana in the tailpipe again. Salutes, bro. You know I'm all over that now. After Luck got me really, really good, I'm not falling for that again. No more D's nuts jokes. Aha! Aha! Cherry emoji from Big Money Sonny. Really do appreciate you. Always good to hear from my guy, Big Money Sonny. Let's see. Eddie Clayton. So you figured it out. Stand up, Eddie. You are officially in the building as the newest member of the MOBB. So good to have you on board. I know you were trying, and I'm glad you were able to figure it out. Looking forward to chopping it up with you, Eddie, man. Always like talking to people who are like, yo, been listening to you, watching you for a long time. And I'm finally coming from, behind the shadows. Again, I'm a lurker, so I get it. So I appreciate you, Eddie. Look forward to chopping it up with you, Mob. You know what to do. Show Eddie some love. Show him how we do it and how we treat Mob members. Welcome to the squad, Eddie Clayton. All right. Let's see. William Murphy, thank you for the super sticker. Greatly appreciate you, William Murphy. Thank you so much for the super sticker. All right. So Ninja X, thank you and welcome. Stand up. You are officially in the building as the newest member of the MOBB. So Ninja X, greatly appreciate you for coming aboard. Looking forward to chopping it up with you. We've talked in the past. Now we'll be talking as a member of the mob. So glad you joined, Mob. You know what to do. Show So Ninja X some love and welcome So Ninja X with open arms. Embrace, show love, and let them know how we do it here in the MOBB. So Ninja X, welcome to the squad. All right. Let's see. Big Money Sonny. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Big Money Sonny. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, one of these days, Alex will officially become a member of the mob. He is a part of the Cherry Squad, and I can't wait to blast him week 3. Salutes. Alex is always going to be around. I can appreciate that. Whether they win, they lose, I know I can find Alex. And and that I respect. I mean, the ones I can't respect are the ones that only come around when shit is sweet. Like the Eagles swept us last year. Tons of Eagles fans around, right? Eagles, and I was talking cold hard cash, so I brought that on myself, and I'm not mad about that. That's what it's all about. That's what family members do, but the year before we swept the Eagles, they sucked, and not a peep out of Eagles fans, right? Weren't showing up, didn't hear from them. I never have to worry about that with Alex. So that's why Alex is my guy, and he's been around forever. So shout out to my guy, Alex. And I'm glad he's a part of the Cherry Squad. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Trev. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Hard Knocks, Detroit Lions. Why? Because of Dan Campbell. That's why. He's a walking soundbite. Once the man stepped up to the podium talking about biting off kneecaps, that they were already chosen for Hard Knocks should they have not made the playoffs, which they didn't last season. And couldn't turn it down. So that's why. Now, I haven't watched it yet. I plan on watching it, plan on talking about it on the podcast. I'm going to try to get a podcast episode done tomorrow. So I will indulge and watch the Lions. And you know what? You should too. That's our week 2 opponent. Let's get some inside information on these bastards and look at them and see if this is going to be what we need it to be, which is a dub come week number 2. Again, they're looking at us like food. That's for damn sure. You know it and I know it. Doesn't mean they're going to eat. All right. Let's see. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. OG, triple OG, Mr. Ron B writes, I think it's all white for the season opener and the week 3 Eagles game. All burgundy for the Cleveland game. Burgundy on white for the Tennessee, Green Bay, and Giants games. Look for white on black for the road game in Philly. Interesting. I can't see them putting black on at all, other than black on black. But you're talking as if you got some inside information or something. Do you know something that the rest of us don't know? Did you hear this somewhere that I wasn't listening? I'd love to know, or are you speculating? But I'm intrigued as to whether they will wear anything but black. I think when they wear the blacks, obviously the tops, we've already talked about the 2 games they're going to do that. The week 9 against the Vikings, week 12 against the Falcons. But, the Eagles week 10 road game, will they wear, white tops? It's on the road, black bottoms. Is that a thing? Could they possibly do that? Could the Eagles wear all white in that game? I would assume the Eagles are a solid color home team. Only most teams in the league. There are teams like Dallas, for instance, that wear white at home, but most teams wear solid colors at home. They prefer their solid color unis at home and the whites on the road. The Eagles are one of the teams in the league that wear the solid colors at home. The only time you see teams like Philadelphia, for instance, that usually wear solid colors at home, wear white, is when it's really hot. So if week 1 they're at home and it's 93 degrees, you're not wearing black if you're Philadelphia. You don't want the sun beating you down with black unis on, so you force your opponent to wear solid colors where the sun's going to beat the shit out of them, and you wear the whites. That's what you see early in the season, which is why Washington is probably wearing white unis week 1 against Jacksonville, because they expect it to be hot. Make Jacksonville wear their black or their teal uniforms, and you wear white, so you kind of stay out of the wrath of the sun. But generally speaking, like that week 10 game on a Monday night, the Eagles probably are wearing black, their damn selves. So the likelihood that we'll have on black, I think it's slim and none. But that's interesting. I'd like to know what some of these road get-ups are going to look like. Those are all the home ones. What are some of the road get-ups like? That's interesting. I'd love to know what that would look like. Thank you for that super chat, Mr. Ron B. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, Alex Cheeks gonna get clapped week 3. Well, I already guaranteed victory in week 3. So I've already said I don't need to say anything else about the Eagles matchup in week 3. I've said enough already. I've said how I felt. You know how I feel. I don't have to keep repeating myself over and over again. But only time will tell. We'll see how it goes. But I expect a victory. I've been very forthcoming with that information. I've been very boisterous about it. I expect a victory in week 3. I'm guaranteeing it. And I'm 2-0 in my guarantees. So I'd like to keep that trend going. And I think it will happen in week number 3. Let's see. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Greatly. I didn't think I needed to say this, but just in case, because there's been a lot of craziness being said on these last few streams. Pause about Alex getting his cheeks clapped. Okay, let me just make sure we clarify that. He's talking about the Eagles losing. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay. Anyway, Trev, my guy Trevor Patch writes, gonna have a show or pod with C3 before the game? Nah. Those are my guys. It's a preseason game. No need to get in depth there. I thought about it though. It crossed my mind because we were supposed to link up before. I think we did. I think I jumped on their show last year before we. As a matter of fact, I did because I told them we were going to beat them, and they felt like they were going to beat us. Obviously, that's again. You see Washington on your schedule. You're saying, "Hey, we better beat them." That's who we are right now. We need to change that narrative. It needs to be, man, I hope we can beat Washington. That's going to be a tough one. Most teams look at us on their schedule and say, man, we better beat Washington. And they were doing that to us last year. Now, granted, they were coming off of shellacking the Cardinals. Cam Newton was back. That was his first game back, and they routed the Cardinals like 34-10. Remember, the Cardinals were one of the best teams in football. They were starting to hit that downslide, though, with injuries and all of that stuff. But they destroyed the Cardinals in Arizona, so they were riding high coming into that game. And that was one of the more gratifying wins. And, obviously Ron going back to the scene of the crime in Carolina where he was canned, he wanted that one bad, and they wanted to get it for him bad, and they did. So that was great as well. And he got the game ball, if you all remember. But no, I don't see us doing anything for that. Excuse me. All right, let's see. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Trev writes, inside scoop, Sam won't let JDR flare up distraction. Sam, I just think, wasn't aggressive enough for Ron. And at the end of the day, I don't think his methods or what he was coaching them was good enough. As I told you, with the way these guys play, I don't want to see them constantly running side to side. That's why Warren Sapp was like, hey, now look, there's nothing wrong with running a twist or a stunt here and there. But these guys were twisting and stunting just about every other snap. Like, let these boys get up the field and be the dominant forces that we think they can be. Teach them and give them the tools necessary to be dominant and tap into the full potential that they have. Don't constantly be running twists and stunts, hoping to confuse the line in front of you. And all these guys have to do is just keep catching guys that are twisting and stunting. No. Let them whoop some ass up front. And again, there's nothing wrong with twisting and stunting, but I just felt like he wasn't getting the most out of what we felt like was supreme talent. And that's not okay. When you spend a first round pick on guys on in one particular concentrated area, that part of your team should be dominant. Not perceived dominant. It actually should be dominant. All right. Let's see. Was that the last super? No, it was not. So Ninja X, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you and welcome aboard to the MOBB once again. Says, sup, Lou? Sup, So Ninja X? Sup, Mob? Lifelong fan. My theory on Twitter about Red Tails being the name was so wrong. Laughing my ass off. Look, we were all wrong at some point about the name. I shouldn't say all. Most of us were wrong. I can't speak for everyone out there. Some of you might have said, I knew it was going to be, Commanders the entire time. And you might have figured that. But, I was all over the place. Wherever the wind blowed, I was with that. Remember when Boomer Esiason said it was going to be the, what was it? The Admirals? I was like, maybe he knows something. Like, he put himself out there. He's a dumbass. Anyway, he says, finally paying for my therapy. Brucey stinks. It's all good. It's all good. There's no reason to beat yourself up over that. Don't beat yourself up like Ike. You know what I mean? It ain't no reason to do that. We were all wrong at some point about that. Or most of us were. So, and you know what it is about Bruce. We all feel that way. Thank you for the super chat. And again, welcome aboard. So Ninja X. Jaden Sewell, stand up. You are officially in the building as the newest member of the MOBB. Jaden, welcome aboard. Mob, you know what to do. Show Jaden some love. Make sure that he feels nice and welcome and at home in the MOBB. Looking forward to chopping it up with you, whether it's watching the games together or in these live streams. Looking forward to chopping it up with you, Jaden Sewell. Welcome to the squad. All right. Let's see. Jaden Sewell, again, welcome to the MOBB. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jaden writes, been watching you since 2020. Love your live streams. I always watch. And when my friends ask me who am I watching, I tell them I'm watching Uncle Lou. Laughing my ass off. Hey, I can appreciate that, man. I hope I drop enough gems on your melon that I'm like an uncle to you, man. Uncles always come put their arm around you, drop a little knowledge on you every now and again. And every now and again, they also drop a gem on your melon. And you're like, damn, Uncle's on to something right there. I hope I'm dropping enough gems on your melon to be able to earn the moniker of Uncle Lou. But in all seriousness, I appreciate you supporting, man. And thank you for becoming a member of the MOBB, man. Look forward to chopping it up with you, Jaden Sewell. Carlton Pagano Jackson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, CPJ, you know what it is. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. CPJ writes, my man Lou, what's going on, CPJ? Says, hope all is well. Likewise with you and yours. He says, I've been missing a lot of live streams due to finals in college, but much love to you and the mob and Cherry Squad. First and foremost, school comes first. Knock that out. Also, good luck to you in all of your endeavors, including, finals and trying to knock those courses down. Take care of business. As I've always said, these streams aren't going anywhere. The playback is there. So if you can't catch it live, you got shit going on, please handle business first. So it sounds like you're taking care of business on your end. I'll continue to take care of business on mine. And hopefully you knock those courses out and you'll be telling us that you're graduating here shortly. And looking forward to hearing about that, CPJ. Once again, thank you for the super chat and the support as always. Alonzo Yarborough, stand up. Welcome to the MOBB. You are the newest member, and you're in the building. Glad to have you, Alonzo. Look forward to chopping it up with you. And Mob, you know what to do. I think we've done this with Zoe before, but if we haven't, welcome Zoe with open arms. Let them know what it is to be a member of the MOBB. And I look forward to chopping it up with you in the future. As always, Alonzo Yarborough, welcome to the squad. All right. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Mr. Ron B writes, nah, Lou, pure speculation about the unis. Okay. Thank you for that. Because I was like, maybe Mr. Ron B, maybe that, OG, triple OG has a little insight, that we don't have. We'll see. I think that's an interesting take about the black unis. I've always felt like that was only a home thing. I never saw them taking the blacks on the road, only at home. But I could be wrong. We'll see about that. Obviously, the whatever the other team, whatever the opposition is wearing, is going to determine what we wear. I've said this already. Most teams wear solid colors at home. Like, for instance, we play Indy week 8 in Indy. They always wear their blue unis at home. So we're going to be wearing white that day, more likely than not. Okay, I can't see us wearing black on the road in any particular situation, and I can't see them. I think the blacks are specifically black on black only. It'd be interesting to see if they could go black on white. I don't see them going black on burgundy. That'd be an interesting pairing though, but I don't know if those go. Obviously, the jersey is so unique with the patches and all of the different things that are going on, the helmet, all of that I don't know if I see them switching up the pants with it. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see. Anything's possible. Thank you for that clarification though, Mr. Ron B. B. Smitty, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, B. Smitty, right? Set the tone. TD on the first possession against Carolina. That's what you want. Ideally, every preseason game, you would like your starters to go out, score on the opening possession, and yank them. And in the second preseason game, you'd like them to have 2 possessions, score on both of them, and yank them. But usually that's not how it goes. Even for the explosive dynamic offenses. With Mahomes, it's usually, okay, first possession, 7 plays, 6 passes, touchdown, Mahomes' day is done. I've seen that multiple times throughout his career already. But, for the mere mortals, the regular quarterbacks and the regular offenses that don't put up 30 plus almost every week and don't have it on tilt, it's a lot tougher. Okay, that doesn't go as planned. But that's definitely the plan, right? To go out, score points, and light up the scoreboard. Let's see. Johnny Boy 26. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Johnny Boy 26 writes, thoughts on Sapp and HBK being signed full-time? I don't know if Warren Sapp is looking to be a coach full-time. Again, it is a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of your time. When you're a Hall of Fame player like Warren Sapp, you have so many different things you could be involved in. Now, if you love the game and you don't mind coaching players, so be it. But I can probably count on one hand the amount of Hall of Fame players that have come back to be positional coaches. Like, it doesn't happen very often. When you're a Hall of Fame player, you're either in the booth or you're in a front office somewhere or you're in the scouting department, but you're a GM. You're not a defensive line coach. That's reserved for Antoine Randall L. Okay, who's a receivers coach for the Detroit Lions. That's Aaron Glenn, who, if I'm not mistaken, is in New Orleans as their defensive backs coach. He might be a defensive coordinator by now. But like players that were good in the league, but they weren't Hall of Famers. Hall of Fame players rarely decide, I want to take the track of being a coach, starting from the bottom, working my way up. I don't see Sapp having that be his existence moving forward. Again, if you love it, I could see him doing it. I just don't know if he loves. I think he would love to just come out every so often, input knowledge, drop some gems, and then go on about his business. 4 or 5 times during the summer, 2 or 3 times during the season, come check on his boy Jeff, check on the players, give them a pep talk, be out there in practice, and then keep it pushing. As far as HBK is concerned, and Ryan Kerrigan, he's doing a test run now, a trial run now to see if this is something that he would be interested in. I feel like if he wants a job, there's probably one here for him, right? They'll create, with the legacy that he's left in this organization, they'll create a position for him if one doesn't exist. Assistant defensive line coach, or defensive assistant, defensive line assistant quality control. Like, they'll create some shit for him. So I could see Ryan Kerrigan ending up being a defensive line coach in the future. I can't see Warren Sapp doing the same. But we'll see. William Murphy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. I think it's a double up for you, Will. I might be wrong. That might have been your first one. But either way, if I find something from you, Will, I'm going to read it. Truly appreciate you. Thank you, Will, for the super chat. So Ninja X, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. So Ninja X, who writes, what was your B&G Club game day fit? I had forearm pads and like 2 pairs of slouch socks with 1 pair rolled down over my cleats. Neck roll, I was in the 4th grade playing 110 pounds with Navarro Bowman and his bro. So I was a dumbass because I was all about fashion and style. Back in those days, I was a TO guy, so I wore 81. I had on these ridiculously heavy, if you know Jordans, I had some Jordan 12 cleats, some all black and white Jordan 12 cleats, which was a dumb move because they were heavy. I mean, these shits weighed like 8-9 pounds, right? Like, you don't wear them shits if you're a receiver. That's some shit you wear if you are a tight end or a defensive lineman or some shit like that. Somebody's not running that far. You're a receiver, you want speed cleats, right? That's part of the reason my dumb ass probably ran that 4.56, wearing them heavy ass cleats. Normally you want the Vapor Jet, something really light. I was a big ankle support guy. The Vapor Jets are usually low cut cleats, but nonetheless, I had on all kinds of Nike shit. I had the Nike chin strap, the Nike wristbands, all kinds of nonsense, man. You couldn't tell me nothing. But again, in those days, I was more of a baseball dude than I was a football guy, in terms of playing. So I looked dope in my baseball uniform. You would have thought I was out here, Anyway, let me keep it pushing, man. I go off on a tangent. Y'all know how I do. Michael White, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Michael White. He says, well, after further evaluation and a surprising defensive line coach firing, on my 6-win prediction, a pay up is coming soon because now I'm seeing 8 to 10 wins. They were never going to win 6, Michael. You were always going to be wrong. Whether they fired Sam Mills the third or not. You were always going to be wrong on 6. Vegas had us set at 7.5, and I said, that's easy money. That's clean money. Tax write-off money. Go get it. Go get the money. Go get the money. They begging for you to take that action. Go take it. We're winning 8 games. Bare minimum, we're winning 8 games. So go take their money, But, I've been adamant. It's double digit or bust for me this year. Like, I got to have it. So, yeah, you've already, the minute you made when you made the proclamation here on the show that we're going to win 6, I said, you're wrong, Mike. But again, that's your opinion. I can't tell you not to have it. I'm just telling you you're wrong. So anyway, Jason Files, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Jason Files writes, "What's up, Lou? What's up, Jay?" My guy Jason says, "Is there a scenario where Ron would fire JDR like 5 games into the season or halfway through or finish out the whole season? That 91 season, we lost all 4 preseason games before 14-2 in the Super Bowl." People love to bring that up, that we went 0-4 in that preseason. Preseason games don't matter, the outcome of the game. What matters is what you do in the game, whether you stay healthy, whether you get good work in, whether your guys look sharp. Like Ron said, whether you're making mental mistakes or if you're going out there and executing the way, even if it doesn't go the way you wanted to, if guys executed the way you wanted them to, if they played hard, if they weren't out physical, you can walk away taking some good things from the preseason game. But the biggest thing is staying healthy. I don't think people really care about wins and losses anymore. That's evident by teams punting on the entire preseason, not playing any of their starters. And that's a new trend now in any game. But everyone loves to bring up 0-4 in the preseason. And back in those days, the preseason meant a little bit more. Teams were trying to win games, and you never wanted to go 0-4, but that's what we did. And then we won the Super Bowl, went 14-2. It's well documented. But I don't think Ron would fire Jack Del Rio in season under any circumstances, other than maybe Jack undermining him by saying something controversial on socials again. Other than that, I couldn't see him firing JDR during the season. After the season, maybe, yes. But I don't think that's going to happen. But then again, I didn't think Ron had the stones to fire Sam Mills III, and he did. So I stand corrected there. I thought it needed to happen. You guys know how I felt about Sam Mills III, but I didn't think it would happen. So got to give Ron, again, I gave him a ton of credit yesterday. Got to give Ron credit again for making a tough decision. And I think if he needed to do the same on Jack Del Rio, he would, but I don't see him doing it. This I kind of feel really confident in, like 95% sure he would not fire JDR during the season. I don't see the benefit of it, unless it was to the point where he was detrimental right now in the moment. We got to move on. He can't be here another day, like Dwayne Haskins, right? Like to the point where Dwayne was detrimental. Him just being in the building and having to answer questions about his behavior off the field, God rest his soul, was a problem, and he had to go now. Now, right now. Like, they could have tried to wait till the offseason. He didn't have any trade value, but they could have tried to trade him. Maybe swapped a 7th rounder with somebody in a conditional 6 or something. They didn't even try to do that. Why? He was that much of a problem. I don't see Jack Del Rio being that much of a problem unless he can't keep his fingers off of the keyboard on Twitter. And that's never been an in-season problem for Jack. That's an off-season issue for him. So I don't see him doing that. Twin D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Twin D, writes, "Hey, LT, what's up, Twin D?" Says, under the category of useless information, here's one. I just completed the Myers-Briggs personality test, and can you guess what my personality designation was? Commander. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. I can tell you that it probably brought a smile to your face, like, look at this here, but maybe you are that kind of a boss. Maybe you are a commander in real life, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. I must say that's pretty cool. Let's see. All right, that was the last super chat. Let me say this before I get out of here, because I know a lot of you follow the team as closely as I do, so you've probably seen this. But did you hear Daniel Snyder speak today? This is the first time. He's a hermit. He doesn't speak very often. The last time I think we've heard him speak was when they unveiled the commander's name on February the 2nd. Him and Tanya Snyder came up, said a little something, and that was that. So you don't hear him speak very often. He spoke today in the hearing, and his opening statements, that's all I could stomach. I didn't want to hear anything else from him. He talked about, first of all, you could tell he was nervous. He said and like after every 2 words. But that's not his thing. And I'm not going to make fun of him for that. But what was frustrating was listening to him talk about FedEx Field. He thanked all of these people that, don't matter to us, DC Lottery, this, because of, obviously gambling and things of that nature. And he has a relationship with them for those things. But he talked about the improvements made at FedEx Field. Have you fixed the sewer issue with the pipes leaking on people? Have you fixed that? Have you fixed the barricades and the rails so that Jalen Hurts isn't walking to the locker room and almost has a ton of fans falling on him? Have you fixed all of these issues? Because he's talking about all of the aesthetics, all of the things that now say Commanders instead of it saying Washington Football Team, or not saying anything at all. He's talking about all of that shit. And that's cool. Did you fix the shit that actually makes the stadium itself bearable for the next 5 years until we get a new stadium? You really want to have people excited? Talk about a new stadium. Don't talk about this dump of a stadium. Then he talked about finally having a real quarterback. Well, you had one in Kirk Cousins and you let him walk away. So he really irks my nerves. This Daniel Snyder. What a buffoon he is, okay? In every sense of the word. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I hope he's right about Carson Wentz. Yeah, we don't agree on many things. I can't co-sign him saying we finally got a real quarterback. I think we finally have us a real quarterback. I know the talent is there. I got to see it in order to feel like we've answered our quarterback woes and we finally got a guy that we can ride with into the future. We'll see. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me on this impromptu live stream on a Wednesday evening. But there was so much to talk about, including practice, that I felt the need to jump on live. Again, I'll see you guys on Friday for the live stream to get us prepared for the first preseason game. And obviously, I will have a post-game show after the preseason game number 1 versus the Carolina Panthers. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But in the meantime, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, post up and take command. You guys have a great evening. I will reconvene with you tomorrow. I assume there'll be practice. There's a chance that there's no practice. I think there's going to be a practice. I don't think it'll be padded. And then there won't be practice on Friday heading into the first preseason game against Carolina. But until then, you guys take care. God bless and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.